It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as a released WWE tag team want a match with the Young Bucks. We have an update regarding WWE Superstar Jimmy Uso's real-life arrest, and Tony Khan reveals that AEW received a $100,000 refund for a recent botch. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first... Tonight on TNT, AEW returns to the road as they are set to hold the Road Rager Dynamite special from Miami, Florida. This will be AEW's first show with fans in attendance outside of Daly's Place since the pandemic began. AEW have stacked the card with a number of matches and segments already announced, including a face-to-face standoff between Chris Jericho and MJF, as MJF names a stipulation for if Jericho wants to get in the ring with him again. There's a trios match with Jake Hager, Santana and Ortiz representing the Inner Circle, and they will be joined with Konnan, and they're going to take on the Pinnacle's Wardlow and FTR, who will be joined by Tully, Blanchard. Andrade El Idolo makes his in-ring debut for AEW, taking on Matt Sydal, and let's remember that Andrade has teased a surprise over the last few weeks, so could he reveal his surprise tonight? We will find out. Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander will team against the Blade and the Bunny. There will be a South Beach strap match between Cody Rhodes and former friend QT Marshall. Ethan Page and Darby Allin will take part in a sit-down interview with Jim Ross. And finally, the AEW World Tag Team Championships will be on the line under Street Fight rules, with the Young Bucks defending against Eddie Kingston and his best friend Penta El Zero Miedo. And will you be checking out tonight's Road Rager special, and what are your predictions for the matches? Let me know in the comments down below. A former WWE superstar has taken to social media this week to reveal plans for a brand new WWE title belt that we never got to see. Jack Gallagher, who was released in June 2020 following allegations during the Speaking Out movement, allegations to which he admitted to, hasn't been seen in wrestling since, but this week posted an interesting post on Instagram that revealed the scrapped plans and said, "I've had a few people inquiring about the existence of the Cruiserweight Tag Team titles, so allow me to spill the tea. There's a truck that houses all the props that might be used during a weekly taping of SmackDown or Raw. On board you'll find a collection of sledgehammers, barbed wire bats, even umbrellas. This also happens to be the place where two purple and silver Cruiserweight Tag Team title belts were kept. They were kept there from the first week that the division appeared on television." Gallagher went on to reveal some of the details that were pitched by talent, including Mexican tag rules, which means if both feet hit the floor it results in a legal tag, as well as ideas of turning them into a 6-man tag belt. Obviously these ideas were all rejected, and the belts never ended up seeing the light of day. Now that NXT reportedly have big plans for the Cruiserweight division, it will be interesting to see whether they introduce the belts at some point. But let me know what you think of these scrapped WWE Cruiserweight Tag Team titles in the comments down below. Last week on Saturday Night Dynamite, WCW legend Konnan appeared on the show in a confrontation with the Pinnacle's Tully Blanchard as he represented the Inner Circle's Santana and Ortiz. In the past, Konnan has been critical of some aspects of the AEW product, but this week on his Keeping It 100 podcast, he discussed his experience backstage at Dynamite and had nothing but good things to say about the atmosphere and said, "It was one of the greatest experiences of my career because everybody's very, very happy, everybody's very helpful, everybody's very professional. There's this one room in there that's with Don Callis, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. They're all in there playing their basketball games, they're watching the NBA. It's a very fun atmosphere, and I thought to myself, wow, I wish I would have grown up in this type of atmosphere." Konnan's experience inside the ring didn't go quite as great, having been laid out by FTR with a spike piledriver. This was Konnan's third appearance for AEW, having shown up during the Inner Circle's Vegas trip, as well as during the second Stadium Stampede match. On June 25th, the Bollywood Boys, also known as the Singh Brothers, were cut from WWE during another set of releases. This week they took part in an interview with SK Wrestling to discuss potential future opponents outside of WWE and spoke of 2 AEW teams that they'd like to face. First, they discussed a possible match with the Young Bucks, with Samir saying, Since we've been wrestling, we've been getting tweets from fans about the Young Bucks and what have you, because we're all brothers and our paths never crossed. One of the reasons was we were in Canada and couldn't cross the border. We're excited. Whatever opportunity comes our way, we'll take it. Sunil then mentioned another AEW team, FTR, which he named as their dream opponents due to their mutual admiration for Bret the Hitman Hart. He said, "They are big Bret Hart fans and guys who grew up watching Bret, and obviously everybody knows that we love Bret as much. Their style would gel well with ours, obviously with who we watch and who we study and our mindset of the business. So outside of WWE, there's so many great tag teams both in Impact and on AEW right now, and all around the world that we're eager and hungry to lock up with." The Bollywood Boys will be available to sign for another promotion from September 23rd and onwards. A return to Impact could well be the most likely destination for them, and I don't think they always get the credit for their in-ring work that they deserve. And quickly, just before we continue, make sure you scroll down and drop a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any upcoming wrestling content as we head towards 20,000 subscribers. But now that you've done that, let's get on with the rest of the video. This past Monday, WWE Superstar Jimmy Uso was once again arrested for DUI in Pensacola, Florida. Jonathan Fatu, which is his real name, was stopped by police after running a red light whilst doing 55 miles an hour in a 35 miles an hour zone. He then failed a breathalyzer test which led to a 24-hour stint in the drunk tank. We now have an update from the Escambia County Court, which reveals Uso has now been bailed out of jail after posting a $500 bond. There is still no word on Jimmy's court date or his future in WWE, but the Uso brothers have been in the midst of WWE's biggest storyline, which of course revolves around their cousin Roman Reigns, who calls himself the Tribal Chief. This is Uso's third arrest in 3 years, leading to some speculation that his time with the promotion could well be up. Jimmy had been off TV for close to a year following his previous arrest, which led to his brother Jay receiving an unexpected but successful singles push before ultimately aligning with Reigns. It'll be interesting to see how WWE deal with Jimmy this time around, and he could be set to miss out on a role in a huge family storyline, with rumours that WWE are building to a showdown between The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania either next year or the year after. This week, AEW President Tony Khan appeared on the Dan Le Batard show and spoke in depth about the botched explosion at this year's AEW Revolution pay-per-view. As we know, Kenny Omega wrestled Jon Moxley in an exploding barbed wire deathmatch, and after the bout, Moxley was laid out in the ring as the countdown to the explosion began to run out. Moxley's former friend Eddie Kingston came to his aid, laying on top of the former champion to protect him from the blast. Unfortunately, the explosion didn't go to plan and was nothing more than smoke and sparklers. This led to AEW being forced to change plans, excusing Kingston's selling to him passing out through fear. Bafflingly, there was a lot of debate at the time as to whether this was the plan all along, with Tony Khan himself seemingly suggesting that fans were expecting too much. Any doubts have now been extinguished, as during Tony's podcast appearance, he spoke of his disappointment with the spot and revealed he ended up getting a huge refund from the company that set it up. He said, "I was trying to be safe and I let the professionals handle the stuff, and they are guys who don't understand wrestling. It was professional pyrotechnic guys. They totally shit the bed, these guys. I ended up not paying them. It was like $100,000 they ended up refunding for all the expenses of the match. So I didn't end up paying for the exploding barbed wire death match, which I shouldn't have. They screwed up royally. Kenny and John worked their asses off and all they had to do was set up the final explosion." Despite the failed ending, the match itself was extremely entertaining, as well as the story behind Kingston saving Moxley, and Khan went on to reveal that he does plan on bringing the stipulation back at some point in the future, and added, "The next time we do this, and I will do it again because the match drew, everything John and Kenny did up until that point was outstanding. It wasn't their fault the thing didn't go off. Long story short, that was a long time ago and we've bounced back since then. That was 3 months ago, and everything has been pretty perfect and couldn't have gone much better. I was really grateful that the next pay-per-view was up and did a big number. There has been a lot of speculation around Jon Moxley versus Atsushi Onita, who invented the stipulation over 30 years ago. Onita has expressed his interest in a match with Moxley, with hardcore legend Mick Foley stating that he'd like to referee the match if it did go down. Whether this will be the match that takes place or not is unknown, but we do know that we will see another Exploding Barbed Wire death match somewhere down the line. And before you go, make sure you check out my list of the 10 hottest free agents in wrestling today.